Maybe we won't agree on every issue. Hell, maybe we won't agree on any issue. But maybe when the campaign signs come down, we all get a little break from the rhetoric and the TV ads and the fundraising texts, and I'm sorry about those. Maybe when we get a little break from this campaign that we're in, we'll be able to look at each other and see not enemies but neighbors. And maybe we'll be able to sit down over coffee or a Diet Mountain Dew and just talk. Talk about our kids.
Tim Walz continues to be criticized for embellishing his rank in service. After it came out over the weekend, he once claimed to be an official bikini inspector.
Tim Walz just experienced a political detonation so seismic it registered on the late-night meltdown index. And who lit the fuse? You guessed it, Greg Gutfeld, wielding sarcasm sharper than Walz's latest poll numbers. This wasn't a critique, it was a full-on comedic incineration. Gutfeld turned what should have been a routine leadership moment into a late-night demolition derby. What did Walz do to trigger it? What did Gutfeld unleash? Oh, buckle up, this political train wreck has more sparks than a fireworks factory in a lightning storm.
Walz's direct superior in the National Guard says Walz knew his unit was about to deploy to Iraq and went behind the back of his superior officer to resign. When reached for comment, Walz yelled, "Hey, look over there," and then ran away. Although Walz's actions look bad to veterans, Dems say these revelations could really help him win the coward vote.
Tim Walz had one mission: make Minnesota look like it's being run by an adult. But instead, he ended up starring in a political reality show nobody asked for, thanks to Greg Gutfeld. The king of midnight mockery stepped in with sarcasm so weaponized it might need federal oversight. One-liners flew. Dignity didn't. Walz's leadership facade crumbled like a gluten-free muffin in a monsoon. All it took was one segment, and suddenly the governor looked less like a statesman and more like an understudy in a soap opera about politics gone sideways.
Meanwhile, Kamala's VP, Tim Walz, is being accused of lying about his rank, which is called stolen valor. But in Walz's defense in Minneapolis, stealing is legal. The tampon king gets back in the ring. I speak of former VP nominee Tim Walz. He joined Beto O'Rourke at a Texas town hall last night, and the estrogen levels were enough to give Chuck Norris menstrual cramps. I wonder, is our strength our diversity?
Let's be clear, this wasn't a gentle critique. It was more like a slap from a frying pan forged out of Fox News monologues. Gutfeld had simply had enough of Walz pretending to be Minnesota's brave knight. Only this knight's armor was made of tinfoil and PR slogans. It wasn't so much a takedown as it was a medieval siege, complete with sarcastic trebuchets and flaming punchlines. Walz walked into this one wearing a cape, but by the end, it looked more like a bathrobe of denial.
Tim Walz vomits more nonsense.
I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. It's because he is. It's because he is.
Wow. Oh. Jamie.
What a
Painful,
douchebag,
huh?
Greg. That was absolutely painful. He was the keynote speaker at this conference. Can you imagine having to watch more of that?
Yeah.
While Walz was busy applauding himself for solving problems of his own making, Gutfeld lurked like a comedy ninja, armed with facts and fatal punchlines. And when he finally struck, it wasn't a jab. It was a verbal cannonball through the governor's polished PR narrative. The whole act, press conference grins, crisis soundbites, and victory parades over unfinished tasks, got torched under the red-hot spotlight of satire. Walz didn't see it coming. Or worse, he did, and still walked straight into it.
I wonder, is our strength our diversity?
Our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years as a country of immigrants, and we let them define the issue on immigration. We let them define the issue on DEI, and we let them define what woke is.
Wait, you lost because you weren't woke enough? That's like telling Joy Behar she's not eating enough Doritos. That's like Jasmine Crockett saying, I gotta black this up. That's like Bud Light saying, hey, you know what? We could use more Dylan Mulvaney. But even Kamala's not that clueless, and that's saying something. Walz also seemed to doubt the validity of the last election and future ones.
Gutfeld didn't just poke at the governor's image, he slow-roasted it at a political barbecue. Every smug podium moment, every self-congratulatory tweet, every mission accomplished banner turned into ash. Walz tried to grin through the blowback, but the internet saw the crack in his composure. Social media exploded like glitter at a preschool art attack. Memes were merciless. Commentary turned savage. Overnight, Walz went from politician to punchline, dragged through the comedic dirt and hung out to dry like yesterday's headlines. And just when you thought he might shake it off, Walz detonated, Twitter tantrums, rage threads, and enough volcanic fury to melt through broadband. It was a meltdown for the ages.
Tim Walz vomits more nonsense.
I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. It's because he is. It's because he is. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Because we have to ferociously push back on this. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully, to watch this bully and to stop it. And when it's a child, you talk to them.
Reactions hit like a July heatwave in Minnesota, intense but hilariously short-lived. Walz wasn't just angry. He was incandescent. Staffers scrambled with herbal teas, mood playlists, and emergency mindfulness podcasts, but nothing could cool the governor-shaped ego inferno. He stormed through the Capitol like he'd just lost a fistfight with public opinion. At one point, aides were Googling how to handle elected officials having an existential crisis during office hours. He tried to reframe it all as a fight for truth, but it looked more like Yelp review warfare against sarcasm.
This one's a quote we saw just recently, Donald Trump's executive order to make it more difficult, specifically to women, trying to make it more difficult for women to be able to vote. We see one of the first things they do is try and restrict the vote.
Wait, so Trump is making it more difficult for women to vote? How so? Math problems? But it's further proof that the most dangerous thing for a leftist is a follow-up question, which is why you never hear any. But I guess questioning elections is okay now. But the best moment came when Walz forgot who.
Meanwhile, Gutfeld was sipping espresso like nothing happened, probably deciding whether to roast Oregon or give the Weather Channel a wedgie next. He didn't just go after Walz's decisions. He went after the man's entire aesthetic. Walz was portrayed less like a leader and more like a drama student who stumbled into a press conference. Gutfeld laced his critique with Broadway-level mockery. Every Minnesota mishap got a jazzy retelling, and Walz's economic plans, compared to a Pinterest recipe gone horribly wrong. 5-star expectations, Pop-Tart results.
He looks like the high school football coach who made sure everyone showered after practice. Now, I don't want to say Tim is far left, but even Bernie Sanders is like, holy, you picked him? During the BLM riots, Walz blamed the unrest on a lack of equity and inclusion. He called the events exciting, for they created a sense of optimism. Yeah, I guess they should have burned down more buildings. After all, nothing is more equal than fire.
And Gutfeld didn't even need to yell. He calmly dismantled Walz's public safety record like it was a failed pilot for a crime series nobody asked to reboot. Crime stats were returning like 90s boy bands, uninvited and awkward. Still, Walz stood at the podium like he deserved applause. Gutfeld's takedown was surgical, no fury, just finesse. Then came the faux law and order skit where reforms looked more like interpretive dance routines than actionable policy. Identity politics became the state's love language while solutions quietly exited stage left. Minnesota started to feel less like a state and more like a BuzzFeed quiz about leadership.
But I guess Walz is a Molotov cocktail half full kind of guy. I bet he thought 9/11 really helped people in lower Manhattan afford rent. Too soon? Walz has a 100% rating from Planned Parenthood, earning him total support from Kamala's husband's former nanny. So why did Kamala Harris choose Walz as her running mate? Apparently he was the only one who didn't laugh and hang up when she called.
But the damage control machine couldn't keep up. The people weren't buying it. They'd seen this rerun before. Walz, in desperation, Had his team release a blog post so dripping in Midwestern passive aggression it could have passed for artisanal maple syrup. It accused Gutfeld of lacking political nuance, which is basically code for, stop making me look dumb. Gutfeld, of course, escalated. He brought charts. He brought reenactments. He even had a Viking dramatically reading a Walz press release. It was absurd. It was hilarious. It was ratings gold.
Politico lingers on candidates' fingers and defend Walz's wide eyes as they claim beards are for bad guys. And there's only one explanation for Tim spewing nonsense like this. Time of the month.
Even Minnesota's Moose probably had opinions by now. National media sat back and watched the meltdown in high def. Gutfeld was basically printing satirical currency while Walz tried to rewrite his legacy mid-freefall. One town hall turned into a therapy circle. A question about infrastructure became a soliloquy about childhood tractors. Audiences were left wondering if this was a governance strategy or performance art. Naturally, Gutfeld followed up with sock puppets, one of which had a better tax plan than the governor. At this point, everyone joined in. Other comedians, celebrities, even TikTok influencers dropped diss tracks.
Writes this piece on the body language from the debate, claiming that it speaks volumes. Yeah, it says that Walz lost, but one of them, Politico says, is like Walz's wide eyes showed his passion and emotional intensity. Can we show that? There is his wide eyes. That humans would widen their eyes to convey that danger is close. What emotion are you getting from that?
Sorry. Still. That was every...
By month's end, Walz was clinging to note cards written by PR consultants with theater degrees. Gutfeld, meanwhile, was planning his next celebration. Minnesota's government looked like a failed group project where no one read the assignment. Budget sessions resembled talent shows. Committees became improved circles. And Walz, he was still trying to prove he wasn't the punchline. But in a battle between a politician and a comic, only one walks out unscathed, and it's never the one with a PowerPoint presentation titled, Why I'm Still Legit. Walz turned a skit into a saga, a roast into a tragedy. And he still hadn't reached intermission.
And look around, and look at, I'm especially talking about these old white guys who seem to disappoint us on a regular basis in this country.
Dude. You're an old white guy. And you're right, you are a huge disappointment. I guess hating himself is the first thing he's nailed correctly. Because Walz saying old white men suck isn't a political stance, it's his confession. Walz calling people old and white is like Maxine Waters making fun of someone for shopping at Wigs R Us. He wants to execute more DEI policies, and Trump wants to execute murderous gang members. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Can you see the difference? Keep this up, Democrats, and the next 3 presidents will be Vance, Hegseth, and Kid Rock.
And Gutfeld, he barely had to lift a finger anymore. Walz's team launched a rebranding campaign so awkward, it made infomercials look subtle. Billboards popped up with smiling lakeside photos, children, and one truly bizarre image of a talking loon explaining state debt. Staffers were sent to meme training. There were workshops on clapback strategy and emoji etiquette. Brownies were labeled emotional support snacks. Gutfeld didn't even need punchlines at this point, just screen grabs. Holding a plush moose and sipping tea, he simply showed the facts. Reality was doing all the work.
With Walz, it's hard to even bring him up. He has a resting snitch face. You know? I mean, he forfeited his man card during COVID and the riots. And you're right. And also, at that diner, of course, he left early. People misreading Tim's odd greeting. The man of the hour, Tim Walz, brings us our second video of the day. And he's got a very weird way of greeting his wife of 30 years. Roll it. I want to see this in slow motion. You'll see Walz extends his hand to his wife. She grabs it. They shake. He pulls her close and then goes in for that non-friction hug, all the while still shaking her hand. I wish there was a word to describe that. Oh, yeah, weird.
Somehow, it got funnier. Walz's next public stunt? A live kayak livestream to prove his in touch with the people. The kayak flipped. A bald eagle soared overhead, and the internet declared it a metaphor. It was looped to dramatic music. Then came the EDM remix of his meltdown, charting at number 4 on Spotify's unintentional comedy list. At this stage, Walz wasn't managing Minnesota. He was surviving a meme war with the efficiency of dial-up internet. He walked into Gutfeld's roast with fireworks, and set his entire political mansion ablaze while insisting it was interpretive art.